I'm going to make it shorter now because I actually don't know if you haven't got it by now, you're not going to get it, are you? Welcome back to that. I was actually looking at Ray and asking her there, but you can't see her facial expression, and yeah, it's okay. Welcome back, guys. Welcome back to Identity Human podcast, and we are recording episode number 30, which is awesome. And there's always so much I think we can talk about. Like I did a session today with a team, and the most useful part of it was when we started talking about mindset, because there's so many principles that people out there haven't heard of that can make such a big difference. And I love, and I thought about this, like, Ray, you can give me a feedback. And by the way, welcome back as co-host, because I know you were AFK last week, just busy being super woman at everything you do.
What does AFK stand for?
Away from keyboard.
Okay.
What about like mindset igniter?
I have no idea what that means.
So like, as in like, I was thinking of like a LinkedIn title.
Oh, is that your title?
So like because today I felt like it was so interesting reading the energy of the room, because it was done to guys that like, they crossed their arms and gave me this whole, like the body language just like closed off, like, oh, what's this all about kind of vibe. And I had to work really hard at the room, but after about half an hour, they started to really warm up, and the feedback I ended up getting was, it's so interesting that we wanted you to come in as an elite sportsman, but by the time the session was ended, everyone forgot that you're an elite sportsman because of the stuff that you were talking about. And that was like such good feedback for me, because that kind of shows that they were interested in what I was saying, not who I was. And my big thing about Identity Human is like, it's not about the labels on the outside, it's about the knowledge and us being able to think for ourselves.
Mindset Igniter for me, it just sounds a bit cryptic because I didn't understand it till I read it. I feel like any description you give yourself, someone with no context should be able to read and be like, oh yes, that makes sense. And so it's also, if I come in from the other angle, is you want to sell, not because it's sell, but you want to, so that people buy into what you're about, not just about selling, but so people buy into what you're about. You need to appeal to something that they think or know they already need or would like. Whereas I don't think, I mean, this even links back to your experience face-to-face in the workshop, that people necessarily know they need to work on their mindset. So that's something to think about. What, by the way, I thought we were discussing something quite different on today's podcast.
We are, but I thought I'd bring people into my day. Like, what's a highlight from your day?
Finding a baby bird and saving it.
And, okay, yeah, go for the, like, can I paint it from my side of things and you can take over and fill the rest of it in? I'm busy, like, slaving away in the kitchen, like, I'm sweating, like, I've got, like, 16 pans on the go at once, for, like, 5 children. I don't even know who the 5th one was. Because we only have 4. And Ray bursts into the front door.
And the world has to stop.
We're screaming like, I found a baby bird. It was burning on the pavement. I was all panicking. I had to like, okay, calm down. What's going on? Is that accurate? Like the chaos that I was ensued upon.
Well, firstly, I'm quite concerned that you have 5 kids and we're only worried about 1 not being yours because the other was at school. So actually only 3 of your 4 kids were around.
Oh, I hadn't fetched him by that time. Okay.
And secondly, I think I was trying to save
a
life of like a living being.
It was great to see.
And I was walking along the pavement and I looked down. Luckily, I wasn't like on my phone.
Imagine
actually.
you'd squashed it.
I know. When I first saw it, I'm like, oh my goodness, I could have stepped on that. And often I would be working and tapping my phone, but this time I was listening to a podcast, had my phone away, and I was actually looking at my surroundings. And a good like 2 or 3 meters ahead, I saw this thing squirming on the pavement. And look, my first thought was it's a crab. But actually, as I got closer, I saw it was a bird. And I was just this tiniest, it must have just hatched from its egg. Like it's a baby sparrow. It was tiny. It didn't have any feathers.
Shame.
And I literally just scooped it up as soon as I saw it. And I didn't even walk home. I ran home the rest of the way because I'm like, I have to save it or let it not die and excrete, because it was like burning on the tar. And it was just like going wild. Like it was so strong. It wasn't just sitting. It was like writhing and like trying to desperately get off this hot tar. But we called him Harry.
Why Harry?
It was just the first name that came to me. And he decided he was a boy. And gave him some water. I researched and gave him some cooked egg yolk with a bit of water, like all mushed up in a syringe.
Cooked egg yolk?
Yeah, that's what I read. Because we didn't have any. You could try dog food, so we first tried to like put boiling water on a couple of dog pellets and mash it, but they didn't soften down. So then with that and actually the what do you call it? The rescue lady I took her to said we did a good job.
Nice.
So Harry ate some of that. We kept him for a couple of hours and then decided we couldn't keep up with the level of care that was needed. So we found a rescue place.
Nice. Well done. It was a very good deed for the day, very good highlight. The kids would enjoy to see you saving an animal too.
The kids loved the whole process. They were very concerned. They didn't want to eat dinner. They didn't want to do anything. They just wanted to save Harry.
Good way of teaching some emotional intelligence to them.
So onto that, the next step, I suppose. Yeah, and you could do a little sort of natural progression from there. We wanted to talk about vision today.
Yeah.
And one of our big visions or core values is respecting the lives of everyone around you and everything. So like when I saw that little bird, I'm like, this little soul needs rescuing.
Well, it's interesting. Like my immediate thing to go is like, let's talk about like how to create a vision, whereas actually people like stories, don't they? But what's come up a lot recently and some of the clients I've got are, I ask a question, like, where do you want to be in 5 years' time? Who do you want to be? And they go, I don't know. And these are guys that are sitting here struggling currently. And if you've ever read Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, that people that got through Auschwitz and the gas chambers, I mean, obviously, if they didn't go into the gas chambers, but the horrific conditions they had to live through, it was all about those that made it all had a purpose to live for. And for me, the purpose comes in like your vision of who you want to be in 5 years' time. That gives you a purpose to live, but that's the thing that drives you. So I was interested to take your thoughts on things and like, have you developed your own vision and version of who you want to be in 5 years' time, and how did that come about, and how's that changed the way you do things?
So tell me practically, if you're saying to people, as part of your vision, it can be something as simple as saying, what or who do you want to be in 5 years' time? What's a simple exercise that someone could do?
Well, it's one where you sit back, relax, take a breath, close your eyes, and then you picture yourself in the cinema, watching the screen. So this is one that I've heard done before, and I thought it's such a good visual everyone can relate to because we've all been in a cinema. So you then relax, and then you're watching a movie of your life. But essentially what you end up doing is you float into that movie and you float above it. So you've got now this viewpoint of the start point of where the movies come from, and now you're the director, and then you've got this timeline that you're looking down of. So present time, past time, future time.
But really making sure that when you're looking at that 5-year TV screen or movie playing out of who you are, what you're doing, you really want to see it, feel it, like almost taste it, like know what
but so
it's like.
This is where I would go with it. Do you remember like the old cowboy Western cartoons where they would have a screen, but behind it they'd have like a railway track or something that was rotating behind it to create a movie effect? This is almost, if I'm going to put my own spin on it, this timeline that I'm talking about, if you know like your classic, you draw a line, it's got two ends, and then you create a timeline of the years that you've lived, right? If you can float above the movie cinema, so you see yourself watching the screen, and behind the screen is this timeline, and you know that timeline is moving with the movie that's being created. So you can see your past, you can almost see that there's a track or something that comes from the future but is not defined. And as the director, you've got to keep making what that future bit is that's going to come in front of the screen that you're originally watching, where I first started you.
Yeah.
So are you with me on that?
Yeah.
Because if you are, then I know that the person listening is. And so it's almost now rise up, observe this timeline, and I want you to be quite high up, like a high level view, like you're a bird in the sky. You're not just looking just above it, you're like 30, 50 meters above. And almost dot 5 years and go, I'm going to zoom in on that bit there, and I'm going to really create what that scene looks like so that we can reverse engineer. And so when you go back in and you zoom into this now, you're then in the present. And what does that look like? So the first scene is you are on a street side, and I've heard this put somewhere else, I really like this, and you see someone walking in front of you. But when you see them walking in front of you and your eyes are closed now and you're super relaxed, you go, wow, they're impressive. They make you feel like you're like, oh, I really want to meet this person, because and then they make me feel like this. They look like they just hold themselves well. They're healthy. They're in shape. They've got like a smile in their face. And as you get closer, you realize that that's you in 5 years' time. And so then I say to you, well, what about that initial thing about like that wow effect can we now identify? So, you know, is there a smile on their face? Do they present themselves well? Were they walking well? And did they seem like a decisive person? Did they seem like someone that had good character? Were they like, could you trust them? Were they honest? All those things are like the core values of that person you want to be in 5 years' time. And then we can kind of follow this person to, now we want to picture their house, what kind of house they live in, the details, what kind of car do they drive, you know, who else is in their house? Are they on their own? Are they with family? Are they with friends? Do they have gatherings? Do they have a big garden? Do they have somewhere that they can entertain? Because socializing is important. And just remember that you're observing you in the future and creating this image, this picture of the various things that you want. And it's almost, have you ever, I mean, I don't know if you have, but like, do you know how memory world championship people work? Like how they remember like 50 to 100 things.
Visuals.
Yeah, and what?
In a room.
So not in one room, but it's almost, you have to create flow in a sequence. So they go into a house, so you're right. So they walk into a house, and in the first room they'll have 30 items and it flows. So you go from left to right, and you create a sequence. And you go out that room and you go to the next room, and then you just create a flow of if you're walking through that. So almost picture the way that you're visioning yourself as following yourself through everything that you see, so you can really get detailed on it. And you can keep coming back to that image because you've created your memory palace of your vision.
I want to take a segue here, though.
Or you're driving a Segway in the future. That's an interesting thing to have.
And say that, I think we have spoken about this in a previous episode, or maybe on the other podcast we had, is right now, if you're feeling a bit lost about where Don is at, you may be like me, where your brain just doesn't think in images. So we've discovered,
and this blows my mind still,
that Don can build an image in his brain and remember it. My brain just doesn't.
So hold on.
My brain, I think, is like a bullet points or whatever. So for me, when I do that same exercise, so let's take it right back. I feel like Don's gone down a whole route where my brain just can't keep up with the visual. Yeah. You've built a picture. But for those people who are picture thinkers, you're probably loving this. But I wanted to take a brief moment to say, if your brain is not like one that thinks in pictures, and there are those of us out there who are like this.
Weirdos.
For me, what I found in doing the exercise of go back to the beginning, you're going to close your eyes. It's like a little bit of like a mini meditation. You're going to do some breathing, and you're going to do this visualization of yourself in 5 years' time. I can go about as far as imagining watching a TV screen and watching the movie play out.
So you can picture that, or is this
as
a
brief?
screen
I can picture that in a very basic level. But for me, it becomes about the feeling. So once I've got to that, I'm more hone in on the way, like that, a feeling that I get in my body, like the buzz or the tingling or the feeling in my chest. And that is I focus on the feeling, and that's how I know that I'm heading for the right vision. Whereas you're like, you build a picture.
What was the first thing I said?
The first thing you said?
When we landed on the street.
Oh, you said about feeling too.
Yeah. So you've got to tie into that
But you started going down, like creating an image in your mind.
Yeah, I agree. Because what do they all say? It's like you've got to tap the desire first, right? You've got to have that feeling first. So when you've got that feeling, okay, well now what? Now I've got that feeling, what am I creating? And that was the journey I was taking. So for you, in your example, like you've got this feeling, but how do you then expand on that? Or is it just you?
Well, this is where I suppose I'm more of a list thinker. I then take that feeling, and I almost, this might blow your mind, because I almost have a list of like 3 or 4 attributes for that person. Like it's not a picture, it's like a list. I very much am like a list thinker.
Do you picture a list?
No, I just have a list. I'd rather just write the list down. So my list would be like, I always talk about like bikini body, travel. Like for me, it's a list. There's no picture. It's like a list of things I need.
In my head, when you say I've got a list, I immediately got a notepad, lines, and then those words.
Yeah, but you're making a picture of my
But I understand. List. But I want to know what you think when you have a list.
It's just words. There's no image.
Is it a black background?
There's no background.
What colour's the font?
There's no visual.
I don't
There's no visual. It's just a list of attributes.
No, but you can't.
It's not even a list. It's just like words. Are
you guys listening? Like I can't. Like you know when they say you don't know what you don't know. Like, at least, do you know when I describe my vision, can you at least picture that? Like, can you picture, like, if I'm saying to you, like, I want a white mansion that's got, like, a stony, pebbled, circular driveway with a fountain in the middle with big green fields on the outside, a weeping willow over a pond. Like, are you at least picturing that?
Sort of.
Okay, but because I'm telling you, but because I can't list what you're listing in our head without putting it onto a picture.
I don't put it onto a picture.
What do you put it on?
It's just there in a black space
this is ridiculous.
In my brain. But I feel like we're going diverging here. I think it's important to realize that how different our brains work in this process.
Yes.
And I think the core principle, and I can't remember the 3 words, but not most people will do a certain most people believe that you have to do a certain thing, like have and do act. I don't know how to say it, but do act be. I don't know if that's those are 3 words. It
was have be.
No, be's at the end.
Have do be then. So when I have.
Oh yes, okay. So most people think naturally we think in the order of have, do, be.
Yeah. So when I have £1 million,
so people think when I have more time.
Yeah.
When my kids are grown up and I have more time,
then I will do.
When I have more money, I will do this.
So I can be free.
Be free. When I have time to exercise, I will then exercise, and then I'll have the body I want.
I'll be fit. Yeah.
And so people always think they're waiting for the have to then do the action, to then be the person they want to be, that 5-year vision. But what I suppose, Donna, I want to take you to next is once you've done that exercise of closing your eyes and really visualizing yourself in 5 years' time, whether it's an image or just a feeling in it with lists. I don't know.
I think you're unique. Actually, if you guys are a list thinker, please can you just put a comment?
You've tapped into that 5-year vision of yourself. You have to remember that if you have to move away from that have, do, be cycle and flip it on its head. So you have to be, do, and then have. So that means that today now you need to start thinking and acting like that 5-year future version of yourself, that vision. You have to start to act and be that future vision, and then you will do the right actions and you will have then what you need to achieve that.
Yeah, and I think I think the difficulty comes, everyone understands that, right? But it's so hard when you go as a millionaire, as a free business owner with free time, I'm going to gym and I'm going to make sure I prioritize exercise. Because people do that for like a week or two, and then something like a work thing prioritizes takes it over.
That's where you don't just focus on the doing, because then people also get stuck on the doing. I'm in a gym, whatever I need to do. But if they just be like, I am a healthy person, and really embody that. I am a person with a 6-pack, with a bikini body, and always come from that state. So when they wake up in the morning or they finish work for the day and it's time to gym, that is the mindset they go into. I know it sounds simple, but it takes practice. It's always starting with the be. Be that person, and it'll help you make the right decisions.
And I was speaking about this today. That's how I want to speak about vision. Is like if you understand who you want to be in 5 years' time, you understand what you're not doing now that's taking you closer. And there's a popular analogy going around about like Tony Robbins talking about red cars. So on your trip in here, how many red cars did you spot? I don't know. Now if you look for red cars, you can look for red cars. What I want us to do is maybe change that and to be like, on your way into work, how many birds did you spot? None. Okay, well now I want you to look for birds. Because what I like about the bird analogy is it's helping you look up. So when you're looking up, I want you to know that you're looking up to your higher self. And so by looking up, you recognize where you want to go, and that's going to give you your North Star. It's going to give you that vision, that alignment, and you're going to realize that what you're doing now doesn't serve the purpose of who you want to be. So you're going to find out the things that you don't want to do as well as the things that you do want to do. So for example, if you'd said, I'm going to be healthy in 5 years' time, like I'm going to be in a good neck, I'm going to have my bikini body, and then you go out on the weekend and you start to drink, you hadn't defined that you're not a drinker in 5 years' time, but you realize that drinking isn't going to make you healthy. Yeah. So you go, actually, I'm not going to drink anymore. And it becomes easy to recognize the things you don't want to do because you're looking at the birds. You're going, that's what I'm going to look at.
Yeah, so the birds are an interesting example. So that's a great exercise to try also after you've listened to this podcast. Like start to try and incorporate like a small habit like that. The core idea is to really rewire the way your brain thinks. So at the moment, you're probably stuck in a cycle of like negative thought loops or not thinking in the way that allows you to make those decisions to become the person you want to become.
Yeah.
So it's about finding small little tricks like looking at the birds or just always bringing yourself back to that future vision to help. It's going to take time and it's like weightlifting and it takes time to build it up and you will get stronger at pulling yourself back to that future 5-year vision. A powerful exercise that we did recently that I wanted to mention is if we go back to the have, do, be. Now we've already obviously spoken about that you need to be living. The more powerful way is to live from the be, and then you will know what to do and have what you need. But let's look at a situation right now. Take a moment and pause this podcast if you need to, and think about something you're telling yourself right now. So the have, I always get it, the have, do, be. Okay. Yeah. So think about a story you're telling yourself right now, and that could be, we did this, like, when I have more time, I will build the business. When I have more time, I will be able to exercise more. When my children are grown up, I will actually then be able to focus on friendships.
That's a big one, hey?
Having like adult friendships.
You're wishing away your kids.
Wishing away your kids. So think about a story you're telling yourself at the moment. It is going to be like a limiting belief. It's saying that you're telling yourself you can't do X because of something you have or don't have at this point in time. And if you can, write it down or just think about it. So pause, take a moment, think about that, okay? Now, if that thought process, if you aren't doing anything to change that thought process, I want you to now think about it, take yourself forward in time, 1 or 2 years. Where will you be, or what will you be doing, what will you have achieved if you hold on to that thought process? You will probably be in the exact same spot.
If not worse.
If not worse than you are right now. So the only way you can change it is by flipping on its head and really focusing on that future vision and not thinking that you have to have those things now to achieve what you need to achieve. Does that help?
Yeah, no, I like that. If people are following... No, genuinely, I'm not being funny. If people are following what you're saying, it's a useful exercise because it is like a real tangible example. And this is something that you've instilled. On my computer screen, I'm going to bring up something that Ray can, like, she'll completely understand what I'm trying to show you here, is my work calendar. So own a business. And it's something that we've pushed hard for together in terms of our core values and principles because together we know where we want to be and what kind of life we want to live. Okay. And when I first started Samson Almond, the business I've got, immediately you want to go, it's a 9 to 5. It's like, this is the work time. This is what we're going to do.
The people you bought it from work 9 to 5 and then some.
And then some. As a business owner.
Most people in business do work that.
Yeah. And it's about like this narrative that you have to work hard to be successful. So we had a few battles where I was like, I don't have enough time. When I've built up this business, then I'll make the time. And it was a big one. And because Ray didn't have my excuses, rightly so, she was like, we've agreed, don't book anything after 3 and before 9.
Only work school hours.
Only work school hours. That's something. And it was really hard for me to do it. But that's a really good example of be, do, have. Because now everything is run apart from a day. So like, I know that there's always an exception because we don't want to like think that perfection is right now. Like, for instance, tomorrow I've got a full day delivery with a client, and then the next day is a one-off element of like networking and stuff like that. But
90% of the time.
90% of my work weeks, and if I can avoid it, like I've even changed full day deliveries to half days, and they suit making sure I'm back in time for the kids, is my work days based around making sure that we're available for the kids. But 6 months ago, we had some uphill things where I was just like, how can you expect me to do this and all this kind of stuff? And
like I was stunting your ability to succeed. But you've been successful because time is this funny thing where it's a big one, and that's why I suppose I'm honing in on time. It's a big one that people say, well, I don't have enough time.
Yeah.
And time is just a man-made construct. It's all about how you prioritize things in your life.
Yeah.
And it's not saying that you don't work hard. It's not working smarter, but so
more efficiently, more effectively. So I think sorry, you're going to go somewhere.
I was just going to say, if we pull it back to the have, do, be, is that most people are like in business and even in careers, whatever, are chasing time. So that they're searching for that time. But if you, and so flipping it on and starting with the be, I wanted to be, and when Don started a business, you agreed at a core value. You wanted to be a parent who was there when the kids weren't at school. But I was doing
the have.
Yes.
I have, do, be, rather than be, do, have.
As a core value, we wanted to only work school hours. And so I was just like, so we were like, I always tell people, sit down and draw up your perfect week. Because if you don't have the vision of what your perfect week looks like in terms of balancing business, career, like health, time with family, etc. If you haven't mapped that out, then you're just bumbling around and you're never going to get there. If you're always promising yourself, when I get on top of work, I will take half a day off. When I get on top of work, I will finish early enough to pick my kids up from school. When I get on top of work, I'll finish early enough to go to the gym at 4 o'clock, whatever that is. You're always going to be stuck in that loop, kind of like I said a moment ago with that exercise I suggested, of constantly saying, when I have this. But what you have to do is be like, this is my perfect week, and I'm aiming for that. That's my starting point, and only the exceptional steps outside of that. Why are you smiling?
Because you said perfect week. And it's important to have those standards so that you know when you're not doing it. Because we often say don't chase perfection, but actually it's about knowing that the perfect week is what you're aiming for. And it allows you to recognize the things that you are doing that don't align with that.
Interestingly, though, Don and I, he smiled. We have this ongoing argument about whether you're aiming for perfection or not. Something that I said unspoken that I always think is that when I draw up the inverted commas perfect week, I've actually discovered that my idea of the perfect week is actually not perfect. So I still win because I look at it back sometimes. Win. But I claim my stance
I lose. Why would you want me to lose?
Is that I don't want you to lose, but my stance is that if I was aiming for my perfect self, that's almost like too intimidating. I want to aim for always a better version of myself. So I'm always know that now if I'm aiming for a better version of me in 5 years, in 5 years' time, if I've achieved that, there's always a better version above that, but not perfect. And so when we look at the perfect week, I look at the weeks that I'm not achieving. I'm like, well, actually, no, this is not perfect. It needs to be, like, it's always a better version of my weeks.
But at the time that you set it, it was your perfect week.
Yes, it's an easy.
So the last time we had this discussion, I concluded that we're actually saying the same thing in a different way.
And this links to vision, by the way. But Ray, are you aiming for a perfect version of yourself or a better version of yourself?
And so in my head, if you're going to put effort into being something, why not do the best effort to aim towards a higher version of yourself? Because let's say that all aspects in your life...
How are you saying a perfect version of yourself?
Yeah, a perfect version of yourself. If a perfect version of yourself means that you recognize different areas, and you and I would agree that it's not just sleep that you need to... It's sleep and eating and exercise and mentality and all connected, right? Yes, that you can improve your sleep, but if you improve your sleep and don't exercise, it's only going to take you so far. So this is why I say like the perfect version of yourself has those things all nailed, because then you're going to recognize how far off you are on exercise in comparison to sleep. But if you're going, well, I'm just going to be a better version of myself, so I'm going to sleep well, but then you haven't set that same standard for exercise, then you're not going to chase that standard for exercise. Now, where I say that Ray and I are similar in our definition, but she might not see it, is in 3 years' time, your definition of perfect is going to have changed because who you are would have changed because you would have risen up. So therefore, you shift that 5 year, the what is now 2 years away, another 5 years. And that's life is you're going to and this is where you have to balance, you have to understand context. You have to balance out ambition. But when I say you're chasing perfect, then recognize that who you are now isn't perfect. And therefore you can be self-compassionate, you can take your time. And that, I feel, for me, the way that it works for me is it allows me to go like, but at least I know I've got a high standard, but at least I'm being kind to myself now. As opposed to, I suppose my fear is, if I aim for a better version of myself and I achieve that in a year's time, I may slip into fixed mindset where ego takes over. Always shifts.
I feel as a principle, we are on the exact same page. Yeah. I have an issue with the word perfect because in society, and maybe especially as a female, there's a lot of weight around the word perfect. It feels very intimidating. You see these perfect models. There's a lot of like perfection that can feel very overwhelming. So for me, I just worry that if you tell people to aim for the perfect version of themselves, they might never get started. So it's that start, whereas if they just know they need to be a better version of themselves, it's the exact same process they're going to follow and almost the exact same person they're looking at. The perfect person is the same as the better person. I just don't want to use the word perfect because I suppose as a female there's a lot of weight against the word perfect.
Okay, so then we're going to bring in, it's really good to have this conversation because I'm not going to change the use of perfect because I'm all about recognizing when we're disempowered and how we can change from disempowered to empowered. And it often comes in our understanding or our perception of a word. So the rain example, if it rains and you don't want it to rain, you're unhappy. If it rains, you do want it to rain, you're happy, right?
Yeah.
But rain is just rain. So I want you to connect that dot, that perfect is just perfect. You can either choose perfect to be disempowering and break you down and sets higher standards and, which you've explained there, which completely understandable. Or, and this is why I suppose I don't,
but you're taking maybe decades of coding that people have to the word perfect.
But how do we change things if we're going to accept that we can't change it? So it's almost going like, I am going to be a better version of myself. Yes, I agree. And every single day you're going to be a better version of yourself by chasing it. But if you don't aim for perfection, right, you're not going to scare yourself into doing something that's like, ooh, maybe I have got this within me.
So but I do understand. On the flip side, I feel like this visioning piece of looking at who your future self is in 5 years' time, or 3 years, whatever the time frame makes sense to you, that exercise, I feel, is like one of the foundational or the first steps that I would say people need to take to get on the right journey. And if they're at the beginning of their journey, they may not have had time to clear off this idea of perfection.
Okay.
So for me, I just feel, I get that you're saying about perfection, but I just know that it carries a lot of weight for people. So to not have that barrier up, I feel like
got a better example.
Version is better.
Okay, I've got a different example. The calendar that I bought up was our perfect week. Make sure that we work within work hours, within school hours only. Mm-hmm. Agreed?
Yeah.
If we had at the very beginning going, we're going to aim for a better version of the week that we currently have, and our current week is we work 7 to 5. So maybe on a Thursday, we're going to work just school hours.
But you see, my perfect week isn't working school hours. My perfect week is working like 10 hours a week. But at this point in time, only working school hours, which is a better version.
Yes.
Okay, we're going in circles, which is a better, not a perfect version.
What you've anchored there for me is you've shown me you do have an idea of what perfect looks like. And that is what's knowing that when you reach a better version, you're going to keep going.
But I wasn't aiming for the perfect version of myself. I was aiming for the better version.
Of course you were. No, hold on. But I want you, this is where we're going to connect the dots. You, at the core of all that you're saying, the better version of your week is working towards that 10-hour week, right? Yes or no? Hold on.
I've agreed with you that at the core, you and I are doing the same thing.
Okay,
it's purely down to the words that I think would isolate some people. I've said at the core, you and I are doing the exact same thing.
Okay, so if you are someone that gets isolated by the word perfect, I and Ray would be different, but this is from my point of view. You need to check your empowered mindset versus disempowered mindset because you're taking on someone else's blockages as to what you can be. Because remember, as long as you have that timeline in there, that who you are now is not perfect and you're nowhere near perfect. So accept that. But that doesn't mean that you can't create a version of yourself in the future that you can aspire to be. Like they say never meet your heroes. This is something that you're never going to meet because you're never going to reach perfection. But as long as you keep working towards it, it's going to take you into a better version of yourself. So it's the same. It's the same thing. We've spent 15 minutes really having. I really like these discussions, and I hope that you guys listening are like That's really cool to understand both sides of it, because I'm not right, neither is Ray. I'm right, so is Ray. And this is life. Like, whichever one you choose is right, that's fine. That's your right. I'm right, Ray is right. And as long as we can go, like, it's working for Ray, what's working for Ray is great. What's working for me is working for me. But I think what's important is to always to hear a different side of things. That's why I like having Ray as a co-host. Is if I sat here and gave that one point of view, you could have had the questions that Ray raised. And then hearing us go back and forth, you guys can choose now. Which one do you like? Do you like the better version of yourself? Do you like the perfect version of yourself? Which one
are you a picture thinker or a list thinker?
That one's a big one. I will get back more into that because I'm learning more and more about that. So, happy. I think that's been a really healthy podcast, and I really hope that this one's given a lot of value, because this is the kind of stuff we want to talk about. Is like, that's the human identity that we really want to hone in on, and how we can find that. So, any last words?
No, I can't think of anything. Just all I would highly recommend is, if you've got to the end of this podcast and you've just listened, before you move on, take 5 minutes and do those exercises that Don and I have suggested, because start now. Don't put it off and think you'll do it next week. It takes 5 minutes. Invest this 5 minutes in yourself to actually do those exercises, because you can listen to content all day, but until you actually start doing and working on yourself from a practical point of view, you're not going to see the changes.
Yeah, I like it. Thanks very much for listening, everybody. We appreciate you. If you think that this is going to help someone else, share it with them. See if you can do the exercise with them too. And if it did work, let us know, because this is a journey that we're on, and we want to see how this reaches everyone. So thank you very much. Remember, Ubuntu, we are who we are through others, but I'll work on me for you, and you work on you for me. Right. Have a great week, everyone. Bye.